clean that crap up already?
Hey, this is your crap.
Well, whatever. Clean it up anyway.
Hey, I heard you like square dancing.
You been talking to your grandmother again?
I have my sources.
Well, yeah, I like it. As a matter of fact, I still do. Here, I'll show you in a second. Hold on. See? Dance Dance Revolution.
I don't think that's what we were talking about.
It's a square that you dance on, ain't it? Yes, sir! Dance Dance Revolution. Or DDR if you want to be cool about it. Released in 1998 by Konami, it's become one of the biggest names of their Bimani stable of rhythm games, which also includes Beat Mania and Paradise. Now I'm sure you've noticed the main feature of the game is dancing to the music by using a dance pad. You lazy louts can use a controller too, but that's not the point of it. Choose a song, how difficult you want it to be, and then you can pretend you know actual dance moves. The series has gotten new looks and experimented a little every so often. And as someone who's played them since the PlayStation game Konamics, I've seen some of these changes myself. In the end, however, no matter what they throw at the wall, the only thing that sticks is the dancing. Now, though you are scored with each correct step, you aren't penalized for stepping on an arrow when nothing is there. The tutorial in the game shows them resetting their steps back to the center of the pad, but that's actually a bad idea. Generally, you keep your steps spread out more so that you can actually have an advantageous position when the other arrows come. Now we're going to start this review with the oldest DDR game that I have, DDR Konamics. You pick your song, pick your difficulty, and what the heck happened to the screen?
I don't know, it looks fine in the recording program.
Fine, I'll have to do something with it through the PS3 or something. This ain't working right.
And you were doing horrible.
Now, DDR Konamics wasn't the first one to make it to the US. But considering Japan had at least 3 other DDR games after the first one, I'm assuming this was meant to be a greatest hits compilation of sorts. The releases in different countries have different song lists even to this day, especially with licensed songs. The Konamics features nothing but in-house created music, so every artist you see is actually a pseudonym used by someone from the Konami teams. As you play the songs, the dancer also appears on the screen, but their dancing is based on fixed movements and doesn't mimic or even match the timing of the song you're playing sometimes.
So they're pretending to dance, while you're pretending to dance.
Good one, Billy. The lower difficulties make you feel like a wallflower more than a party animal, with the steps being widely spaced most of the time, but still useful for at least getting used to how the game works, or learning the beats to a new song. The standard difficulty setting, or at least the one that's directly under the hardest difficulty setting, is the best for me because it actually feels like I'm going along with the music, as opposed to the highest settings, which I'm physically unable to move fast enough to deal with. Dexterity is key, and even though I'm in decent shape, my leg muscles aren't used to the frantic movements the game desires from them. Of course, if you really want a challenge, you can do the double mode, where you use both the first and second player pads to dance to a song. Hey, what the... Hold on a minute! Dagnabbit, I think the pad's broken.
Well, you know, things wear down as they get older.
Not me! I'm fit as a fiddle! Charlie Horse! When DDR Max heralded the series debut on the PS2, it wound up removing the 3D dancers in the background, but introduced more background videos as compensation. The game also introduced a new difficulty system, changing the names and including a chart to show the frequency of certain steps. Also, a major staple of the series was introduced with the freeze arrows, steps that require you to keep your feet on the corresponding arrows for the duration. Now, the Max games still used a 10-point scale to rate difficulty, but apparently the infamous song Max 300 was the first official 10 on that scale, and it shows. From then on, the games either had a remix of Max, or another so-called boss song that was made to be harder than the last. While DDR Max 2 didn't change much of what Max gave us, it was the first and only game in the series to sell 1 million copies in the United States alone.
Hey, there's something familiar about that song.
What? Oh, that song. Anyway, the dancers that were removed in Max were available again by poking around the options menu, with the ability to have up to 3 dancers on screen at once. And this section with Max Unlimited helps show how fast the Max songs move, as well as the fact that the dancers are tied with the arrow speed and not the music itself. Now this just seems to be an oversight with at least the first 2 Max games. I didn't notice any of that with the games that appeared on the first Xbox. The original Xbox got the DDR series under the name Ultramix. Unlike the Max games, Ultramix returns the dancers to being turned on by default. You could play online with Xbox Live as well. Of course, the fun thing is with this game, I didn't have any problems on Xbox Live with anyone challenging my masculinity.
You're playing a dancing game.
The most glaring difference to other games in the series was how you unlock new songs. In other games, you just play the normal game mode and you get points, hidden or otherwise, to unlocking the rest of the songs. In Ultramix, you had to perform hidden objectives, like get a AAA score or play a certain song on all difficulties. Of course, you could skip that with the legendary Konami code. Plug a controller in port 4, select credits from the option menu, and using the controller in port 4, input up, up, down, down, left, right, and then the buttons BA. Ultramix 2 had a modified version, but the input was mostly the same. Look it up if you really have to. A funny story though is that when I first got Ultramix, I accidentally got Ultramix 2 because GameStop got the boxes confused. Yes, I told them about the mistake instead of getting away with a newer game for cheaper, and they let me keep it with no additional charge. I'm an honest man, and I hope you folks out there are too. The next update to the game was DDR Extreme, which was released on the PS2 as well, but added new difficulty settings and updated the selection interface. It also introduced additional game modes using the PlayStation iToy, but when I tried it there wasn't really anything interesting. Dancing required you to point at the upper corners of the screen as well as stomp on the arrows, but the camera was finicky at best about where your hands were, most of the time registering the position of my wrists. I demonstrated, but I lost the iToy when I moved out of my parents' house.
Oh, when was that? Last week?
Says the guy who keeps coming over to his grandfather's house to play video games. I need to take a break, Billy. You take over for a little bit.
Well, we don't have any of the other games from 2004's DDR Extreme to the 2010 Dance Dance Revolution on the PS3. But I understand from some cursory research that after the Supernova series, DDRX changed the difficulty settings to a 20-point system. I've also heard people suggest Konami created more super hard songs around the time of the Supernova games in response to an arcade game called In the Groove. But the best evidence I can find is speculation. In the Groove had more challenging tracks than DDR, but unfortunately their gameplay and arcade setup was so close to DDR that Konami wound up suing them. So don't expect anything but fan games to come out for that series. However, aside from all that, DDRX also featured a number of other changes, mostly as a highlight of the 10th anniversary of the games. For some reason the game was given an urban look, I'm guessing to give it a more thematic setting for the story mode that they introduced. Without a copy of these games, though, that's all just speculation. That you can find more probably on Wikipedia.
Stop giving away my secret research sources!
Oh, now you're feeling good enough to do the review again, huh?
Yeah? Now hand me the PS3 DDR game while I go get the mat for that one. DDR 2010, not the official name but easier for me to label it that way, was a massive overhaul of the series in terms of graphics to get it to the PS3. HD support, trophies, online play, the basic next-gen upgrade package. Unfortunately, the song list went mainstream and it really hurt the quality.
Hipster.
Yeah, Chuckles, well, I'd like to see you tell me how I'm supposed to play this Jason Mraz crap.
Slowly?
DDR is not built on ballroom dancing.
You're losing.
Also, the mode to unlock songs changed again. This time forcing you to do something called club mode. Generally a kind of non-stop mode. You play between 4 and 20 songs, all of them random. This wouldn't really be an issue if it wasn't for the fact you can't change the difficulty at all. It starts at the lowest and will change it in the middle of the songs depending on how good you're doing. Like I said, I'm used to the standardish difficulty, so it's no picnic when I'm forced into expert at the end of a song, and the next one's dead blown max 300! Yes, that has happened! Once I got everything unlocked, I never went back to that game mode, even if I just wanted to work out. Oh yeah, you can use these games in a workout mode also. Put in your weight.
Don't lie.
Oh yeah, the game bases your calorie burning based on your weight, so yeah, it is a good idea not to lie about your weight. Billy, were you making a crack about me again? Whatever. Anyway, some games will equate how much you danced versus how many miles you walked or swam. I can see it having the same benefits as jogging or whatever, but it's not going to tone your abs or anything like that. Most of the workout modes also change the steps, so they act more like a steady workout routine instead of frantic stomping. But you can still change the difficulty. Now either way, the games are make or break based on the music they have, just like all other music-based games. It's entirely on personal tastes, and to me it's a toss-up between Ultra Mix 2 and Extreme. I'd love to give you a sample of some of the licensed songs they got from artists like Darude, Crystal Method, Delirium, and Freestylers. But you never know where the copyright crusaders and their pet lawyers are sniffing around, so I'll have to play this one safe. Now if you're saying to yourself, hey, I want to stomp on a mat myself, but none of these songs suit me, then I've got good news. There was a PS2 game release called Dance Factory by Codemasters, which has the same gameplay. The difference being that it uses songs from your own music CDs to make the steps. Of course, this novelty is incredibly hit and miss. I've had varying success, and while it's interesting that the game also generates a dancing creature based off the CD, there still isn't much there to help the game. The graphics in particular are bland and hurt by the fact they have to be preloaded to the system memory to allow you to put the audio CD in, so they can't have much data for those. Of course, they have a few preloaded songs to use, and... Tim McGraw? I wasn't serious about the square dancing joke! Anyway, there's 5 preloaded songs from different genres, but they don't really help the game. It's still something to be applauded, if only for the effort, but I'd say only buy Dance Factory if you really have to know what it's like. Wait a second, did this crap freeze up on me? In terms of which DDR games to buy, it's hard to say. I'm not going to say buy all of them, but the songs are spread out quite a bit across the games. You're probably better off checking the song list off Game FAQs or Wikipedia, and make your pick from there based off what songs you see. Another option is to check a website such as ddrfreak.com and find an arcade with an updated machine. I know from experience the newest ones have the full playlist of the Konami songs, though they are Japanese based, so you may not find as much licensed music. And with that, it's time to wrap things up. DDR is a fun series to play, but I can understand it's not everybody's bag of tea. I personally love the game, but generally speaking, the question of whether or not everybody should get the game is a definite maybe.
Hey, there's something familiar about this.
Oh yeah, that's Cynthia from Silent Hill 4.
Isn't that one of your favorite game series? Are you alright?
Just grab me a pillow from the bed. The floor's really comfortable right now.
Alright, you're just playing this difficulty up. Let me show you how it's done.
Yeah. more like me, no trying to bring pain, but the year 2 2 style. Gonna turn this party out.